Welcome, one and all, once again. My name's Gareth. I'm joined by Vicky Poole, who has a slightly different personality today because she is the communications coach, and her mission is to help people communicate more effectively with each other. What's today's topic, Vicky?
Today's topic is listening to the undercurrents of what people say to you. So
the undercurrents, you say?
The undercurrents, not undercarriage.
What, easy now.
That would be a bit weird.
Yeah, it'll be Friday.
So the undercurrents of what people say to you. So we all know people who always say sorry. So, I'm sorry. You know, like, I spilled a cup of tea. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot your cup of tea. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go and get that now. And when you hear someone say the same thing, or they say things in a certain way, it provides an insight into their psyche and also into their background and experiences.
Their background, certainly. I mean, I was brought up to say sorry just for breathing in and out wrongly. It is the English disease, I think, saying sorry for everything. And I think it's very much.
You're right.
It's the upbringing that leads to that, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So when you hear someone saying "I'm sorry" all the time, it's because they have been told that they're always at fault.
Yes.
So by being always at fault, someone else is always right. So these people are more likely to be very sensitive to the language that you're saying to them. They're more likely to inadvertently take offense to some of the things that you say to them. And they're more likely to never tell you exactly how they're feeling because they have been conditioned to believe that their opinions don't matter because, oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
I think they also, in the modern parlance, if one might use it, they're easily triggered. Is that their trigger points are much more exaggerated versions of stuff that one can understand being triggered. Somebody calling you names or calling you out or making you feel stupid, that's triggering. But sometimes just odd words. I remember a girl I spoke to the other day and I said, I hope this enables you to understand. And she said, oh, understand, that's such a pejorative term. And I said, what do you mean? It means you stand under me. And I said, oh, I stand under you. And I said, no, I didn't mean it that way at all. It's just miscommunication.
Yes, it is. And sadly, I mean, you're right. We say things in simple ways that are simple to us, not simple for the other person, because our language is unique to us. And it's going to be unique to our family. So we all know that we say things to our inner circle, which we would never say, or we would phrase very differently to people that we meet in the street, right? Absolutely. It's absolutely cool. So when we're communicating and talking with people in our office or in our lives or at the school pickup, you know, we will be talking as we talk and we could be triggering other people. Now, unless the other person gives a physical sign that they are triggered, because we receive triggers on a daily basis. What happens is we receive one too many triggers and it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. You get one more trigger and then you hit overwhelm. And, you know, when we think of overwhelm, we think the kid in the supermarket bashing their hands and their feet on the floor because they can't get what they want. Essentially, that's what's happening to everybody just on the inside of our mind. And we have been conditioned, there's that word again, conditioned, to never show and display our feelings and emotions. Now, this is very common. And what I'm desperately trying to reach people and educate people on is how to share that you have been triggered or how to listen to the undercurrents of people who are triggered. So when you hear people saying, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean that, or I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. It's your opportunity to be able to help them to process that emotion, help process what's going on.
So are you referring to subtext? Is that the thing you're talking about?
It could be subtext. Again, it depends on the language that you use and what that means to you. So sorry,
as a neurodivergent person, I struggle with subtext because to me it has so many similar, but some of them quite contradictory meanings of the same phrases.
So you can get around the subtext by saying, like going back to the person that you were sharing with about being understood, you know, my intention was to do this. So my intention was to share information in a way that it is understood by you, or in a way that your brain acknowledges and receives the information that I'm sharing. Oh, okay. And because you said my intention is, it's very beige. There's no emotion tied to it, you know. And as long as you are saying something in a way that is factually accurate, it's not you did this, or, you know, I've had to do this to help you out. It's factually accurate. My intention was to share information so that I could be understood. Yep.
I mean, my biggest personal trigger at the moment is when I say something which is an inalienable fact. Well, let's say I say the apple falls and therefore that demonstrates gravity, and someone might say, I'm pantomiming this, and someone might say, well, that's your opinion. No, that's not my opinion. That's an inalienable fact, and that's my biggest triggering thing. The people that, and this appears to be the thing that's I'm not getting political, but it seems to have been an occurrence out the last 10 years of lies and alternative facts and all the rest of it, is that stuff that would normally be, you know, 1 and 1 is definitely 2, and the people are then responding saying, no, 1 1 equals 2, but that's only an opinion, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a few things there. So if it is your belief that the world is flat and you are being told facts that are pertinent to the world being round, then that is an opinion and a belief rather than a fact. Because I will believe that, because I believe the world is round and I believe the world is flat. So if you are sharing with me an opinion or a fact relating to the world being round, that will definitely be your opinion. It's a perspective issue. If it's the sky being blue, then you can see that is a fact. But you might have somebody arguing about the nuance and discussing the nuance of why the sky is blue and whether it's a reflection of the water or whether or not it's the color of the ozone when it reaches high capacity. Then that's a different conversation. Anyway, we're getting very scientific, Gareth. I wasn't aware that we were going to be doing this today.
No, my whole point is about communication, and communication is beset by miscommunication. And what I mean by that is, as you say, and that expression, I think I'm going to take that with me, that my intention was X, Y, and Z, because that immediately sets it out in a way that you really can't argue with. Well, if that was your intention, that was your intention. If you've misunderstood it, then perhaps the onus is on you to understand what my original intention was. But having said that, with all that in place, when people disagree with the absolutely barefaced obvious that, you know, that white is black and black is white, and they disagree with that, with stuff which is as fundamental as that, it can be very triggering. I don't think it's just for me either.
You are right. It's always from a perspective basis. So if you are paddling in a canoe down a river, you're going to see the trees from the side. You're going to see the bark. You're going to see the leaves. If you're flying a drone, you're going to see the river, and then you're going to see the green canopy of the trees. You're not going to see
a much wider perspective, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So in everything that we do, if we're speaking with someone who is paddling right next to us, they're going to see the same perspective. If the person that we are paddling with is sitting behind us in the same boat and only looking at their drone screen, they're only going to see that perspective. And I think that's where we need to be mindful and share the perspective, you know, of my intention was. I want to go back to I'm sorry. Because when someone says it to us, you know, like we've done something and we are upset and we are triggered, and this is the other side of the I'm sorry. So someone's done something to me and I said, you know, that really hurt me when you did that. And you get the sorry response. I'm sorry. And then you always get like you often get a narcissistic response where, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's like, well, don't be sorry.
That's the classic politician response, isn't it? I'm sorry if that made you feel upset.
Yeah. Well, firstly, that's a gaslighting response because they're trying to invalidate your feelings. Yes. So a really great way to manage someone's narcissism here, because they're trying to belittle you and put you in their place, or to use Gareth's friend's example, they want to stand over you, to be overstood.
Yes.
Yep. So you respond to that with there's no need for you to apologize for my feelings. I need you to apologize for the action that you did. And it's holding that person to account. You also get something along the lines of, I'm generally like sorry. and then there's no accountability for actions.
Yeah, I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry for whatever it is I'm supposed to be sorry for.
Yeah, and it's I don't need you to be sorry for the birds pooing on your car or the freshly steaming pile of dog shit that's in your front lawn. I don't need you to apologize for everything. What I need you to apologize for is your behavior on this action. And what's really happening here is you're pulling people back and demonstrating to this person that this one particular action is triggering. And when someone is held to account, they're more likely to be responsible for their own change. Now, I can't impact you and you can't impact me. If I choose to do something, it's of my own volition. It's what I choose to do.
Quite so.
Only when I am aware of my impact on you or other people, am I then adequately informed of how I need to change, should I wish to. Persons who choose not to respond or choose not to change, that's them, and there's nothing that anybody can do about that. If somebody is a reoccurring offender, let's just say, of stepping on toes, they may choose to change. And this is where personal growth comes in. This is where personal growth.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Here's the thing, right? They can choose to change. It makes it a complete choice. They don't feel compelled to. In fact, I've known people almost make it their mission to never ever apologize for anything they've done, and delight in the fact that it's thrown rocks in your path and caused you discomfort. They almost see it as their mission to do so, and we call them narcissists. I think they enjoy they live by Schadenfreude. You know, the idea of watching old women fall over into puddles. You know, they like seeing things fall apart for other people, and you know what, I think a lot of effective communication is choosing who you're going to try to communicate with.
Yeah. Now, it's trying who to communicate with. And going back to your comment about narcissists and sadists have one thing in common. They were created. Children are born with the desire to be able to communicate verbally and non-verbally. The language that we give our children enables them and creates them and develops them into the adult that they will become. So when you see a narcissist, they were never born that way. They were created. And only by having the courage to demonstrate and share with them the impact, and it may be a continuous uphill slog, like trying to push water uphill, by sharing with them the impact that they have on your life, will they then change or choose to change or give other people the courage to do the same. And I'll give you an example of this. There was somebody with whom I worked with many, many moons ago who everybody moaned about. Everybody moaned about Vicky. Absolute miserable, what's it? And this person caught me in a bad mood one day, and I shared with them that their behavior on a particular function was inappropriate, or I found it to be inappropriate. They then went off and trashed me to a colleague who then said, well, actually, I can see her perspective. And then the next time this person crossed a line with me, she got the same rebuke. And then someone else said, well, actually, yeah, I agree with that as well. I can see her perspective. And then gradually over time, this person realized that it wasn't me taking offense with them. It was a behavior trait that they had that was upsetting swathes of people. And then I went on a journey to change, and she went on a journey to change, and together we both changed. We found a way of working together that was then beneficial.
Right.
And I want to draw everyone's attention to the fact that when you have the courage to kind of speak your piece and you're listening to the currents of things that are in people's language, there are some things that people say in such a way that they are very action orientated. You know, emotion is devoid. You know, they will be more open to and appreciative of a direct response.
Understood.
So these are the kinds of people that you can share with you can put them in the box regarding them saying, I'm sorry to you. And you can do it using the examples that I've listed today. You can also use that experience that I've just shared about a colleague so when you hit a brick wall, to know that you're going to hit a brick wall first before there is a change. Everyone loves a Titanic example. When you first turn the wheel of the Titanic, the boat doesn't move. You have to turn the wheel several times, as in do several instances of the same activity before the boat shifts. So just because you try it once and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean it's never going to work. It will work eventually. Just keep trying.
I've got a comment coming in from Maria Harvey.
Hi.
I'll put this one up. Maria says, so how do I know if the problem is them or me? Having autism, it's hard to understand. Maria, I'm autistic as well. So I suffer from this myself. It's hard to understand if I'm too OCD or non-flexible with my understanding, or if they've actually treated me with real disrespect. I've got a number of different things I do, which are my coping mechanisms. But what would you say, Vicky? Actually, I'll leave that one up for you so you can.
What would I say to that? I would say to you, Maria, think back, or if you're able to act in the moment, do so. If not, go back and actually unpick it later and ask yourself the valuable questions. Why was this triggering for me? Is it because this person has pushed a button, or is it a button that this person can only push? This is something that it's unique to that person. It's likely to be triggering from a disrespect perspective. If this is something that is general and it comes up with lots of different people, it may be your understanding. So what I've got, I think we're connected, Maria. What I'll do is I'll pop you a link to a worksheet that I've got that I use for myself, because I like a good process. And whenever I'm triggered, I go down this process. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the dialogue with the other person, and sometimes it's situational. So things happen in an environment that only happen in that environment. And it allows me to rationalize what's happening and why, and also to plan a response should this happen again.
What I would say, Maria, is just so you understand it, because sometimes you get advice from someone who's neurotypical, and you feel where they're talking.
I'm not neurotypical.
I know this, and I want you to understand it. Vicky and I are both in the neurodiverse category. I'm autistic, and I'll tell you how I deal with stuff. If something triggers me, my normal response is to go very quiet and take myself away from it. What I've done also is I found that if someone triggers me, what I'll do is I'll package it, I'll put a pin in it, and I'll take myself away at a later date and revisit it and think it through. Because often I'll find it's because of somebody else's actions that a long time ago that I find this a mirror image of, that it triggers me. My father used to do a whole bunch of stuff which in hindsight is totally disrespectful, but I didn't realize at the time. I thought it was normal. So when anybody else does it, because I find it upsetting, it triggers me and makes me feel all tight and tensed up inside. So I do that. And then if I can I'll find a way of finding some time with that person alone. And if the topic comes up, I'll say, I did find what you said that day very triggering, but let me explain. I've dealt with it now, but I needed you to understand why. So if it happens again and I have a reaction, you'll understand what I'm going through. Now, if it is something they've said that it really is disrespectful or whatever, I think it's taken me a while to get there, but I now say to them, I find this attitude or this approach really upsetting. And I would ask if there was a different way you could phrase it, because I really don't find I can deal with that. So if you're willing to do that, then I would suggest you do that and leave it at that. But I never try and deal with things hot-headed in the moment. Otherwise, I end up saying things that aren't necessarily appropriate to the conversation and end up going in a direction you don't want. So I would say, specifically if you're autistic, try and compartmentalize it. Refer to it later, work it through, find out why it was triggering you, and then if you can, reference it back to the original person. If it's someone, if it's a relationship you don't care about, then
if it's a relationship that you don't care about, it is also still valuable to unpack it, because when you understand why you were triggered in that moment, and that's a nice little bit of product placement there by Gareth.
Sorry about that.
And I would also encourage people that if they are still triggered to the same degree on the next time it comes up, then it hasn't been unpacked adequately. There's still more room to go. It's a bit like excavating. You've got to get far enough down in order to build the foundations. So if you are still triggered by the same activity over and over again, then it hasn't been unpacked properly. There is still more room to go. And you can do that with yourself. You can do that with a friend. You can do it with someone you don't know. The most important thing is to get that adequately on how you feel about it and how you can step and how you can mitigate that trigger point happening again, so that you can live an untriggered life, which is where we all want to be, right?
So look, thank you very much for taking time out today to talk about all these topics. I always find them to give me another perspective, perhaps in a way, because I tend to be stuck in my ways. I don't really like change. Maria, I'm sure you'll understand all about that. But what I would say is that Vicky and I have been good friends for a long period of time, and her exploration into these areas, which have only taken place over the last 10 years or so, have enabled me to express myself more fully. So I would say catch our transmissions, which tend to be always around about this time, always on a Thursday, and you may find that it opens up ideas and windows in your mind that you had previously had closed. Maria has jumped straight back in there. Here we go. Here's Maria's response. Is very non-confrontational with people, and so was I. But you don't need to be confrontational once you've unpacked it. You can just literally have it conversational. The whole point about this, and she's also given us a lovely compliment, which I'll show in a second. I expect to know it's an unreasonable expectation. I guarantee you, your friends and family, none of them, if you're neurodiverse, will really understand your inner workings. I find even other autistics quite confusing. So you've got to understand, no one will truly understand what's inside there unless you communicate with them.
Yeah, and it's being able to share that, being able to share your feelings without judgment or without threat. Because the second that you're saying about you, it feels very personal. So being able to share exactly how you're feeling without the other person being made to feel sad, being made to feel judgmental, things like, well, you know that I would react to that. Why would you do that? Is a great way to kind of build boundaries with people that is non-useful or non-beneficial things. So flipping that round and say, I get really triggered by this event and I'm wondering if we could do things differently because X, Y, Z, because this upsets me for the rest of today or the rest of the day, and I am unable to enjoy myself appropriately with my friends, my family, whatever's going on. So when we bring everything back to me, it diffuses the confrontational aspect, because it's not about you and the thing that you did to me. It's about how I am feeling in this situation, and I am sharing this with the people around me so that we can propose remedial actions to fix it, so that next time something else happens.
What I would say, Maria, is what's helped me is having a buddy like Vicky who understands autism, or understands autism words and feelings and responses. So when I say I don't understand why I'm so angry about this, and here's what led to it, she can help me unpack it. I would recommend finding someone like that, or if you get a chance, have a chat to Vicky herself. She's awesome at helping you see things from a new perspective. She's also given us that little lovely comment that she's going to be tuning in again.
Oh, fantastic, Maria! Thank you, lovely.
Yes, absolutely. If you know of other people that might get something from the interactions that Vicky and I have with each other on Thursdays, then please do get them to come in. There you go. There you go. That makes it all worthwhile, Maria. Yeah, it's a process, Maria. Trust me, I'm an old guy now, and I've only known how I am for less than 20 years. It's a process. Don't be too hard on yourself. Find yourself a rhythm buddy like I've got in Vicky, and you'll find that things start to make far more sense. Look, I need to sign off now, but what I would say is tune up again next Thursday. We'll be covering more topics to do with communications, effective communications with neurodiverse, neurotypical, everything in between. Thank you so much, Vicky. Any last words?
Just start communicating with people. Share how you feel, and bring everything back to you when you're sharing it, and that'll give you the confidence to be able to do it. I feel like this. I feel X, and start talking today.
There you go. Last words from Vicky. Thank you very much for everybody for joining in, and watch out for more next week.